There's a shirt I want to buy sold on White Person Fancy, Middle Class Fancy. There we go. Called Big Deck Energy. And
I know 2 people that own that.
I want to exude Big Deck Energy.
Yeah. Oh, I could see Tanner having a big deck.
Yeah. Just like people are looking, they're just like, wow, that's all deck? And I'm like, all deck, baby.
Yeah, Meg, I'll make it to 6 o'clock dinner. No problem.
We'll make it happen. Hey, we're back. All right. That was a great game, guys. Jordan, compliments on that one. That was a fun one.
Thank you.
Pod culture.
Thank you.
Culture. We'll have to do that one again.
Do you get it? It's pop culture.
Okay.
You get it?
But then
Oh shit.
But then
okay.
with the cannabis,
Exactly. So pot is it kind of like there's some vernacular in the industry. Some people call cannabis pot.
That was a good one. I didn't pick up on that. That's no. All right, but let's get serious, guys. It was a busy week in terms of news. We're seeing not a ton of action out of OCM. They've been a little bit quiet. We did see them announce today that 80% of social equity applicants that submitted new information have now been moved forward to that approval process.
Amazing.
So apparently it was maybe not the students, but the test.
So November to April, we're still in the social equity waiting room.
Yep.
But now there's more people in it.
Way more people in it. Yeah. So now we've got just over 530 social equity pre-approved micro businesses that have been told within the coming weeks, you're going to be opening your doors. And so now it's just sort of figuring out what is the order of steps that all of that will come in. And in the coming weeks, like two months from now, when we record sort of like our end of season wrap up, it's possible we might have stores starting to open.
Yeah.
Will they have freshly grown Minnesota product on the shelf? Maybe not, but
native care.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's get to it. So the biggest news piece that we saw from this week was from the legislative branch. We are back to can omnibus season. We've got that big omnibus bill, this time with Stevenson and surprise guest host, Representative Nolan West, coming out from right field, if you will. We've now got our first bipartisan cannabis bill coming out through this year in the session. Which
look at the north suburbs running things in the cannabis space.
Truly coming in and saying, hey, remember that time that we updated the program last year? Let's do it again. And there's a big chunk of updates that were included in that. Now, some of the biggest one that people are calling out is creating a lower potency hemp wholesaler license, giving visiting patients the same rights as in-state patients. But it's really just a lot of sort of technical changes to the program to make it run a little bit smoother come day one.
Yeah. The one that I'm really worried about is the liquor lobby, the liquor wholesale, and the things going 3-tier. That is not addressed in this, is it?
So we see the introduction of that lower potency hemp edible wholesaler license in here. So what's interesting is when this bill was brought up in committee, there was some discussion on it the day before, but it moved through pretty unanimously without much debate. And it's because all of the components of this bill were debated or discussed in previous committees, and this is sort of the slamming of it all together.
Wow.
So we do have that wholesaler component written in here that would allow, like you said, some of those liquor wholesalers that were looking at the oncoming industry saying, oh shit, I really like selling hemp and I don't want to have to go through the rigmarole of getting this license.
Yeah.
Now having an opportunity to maybe continue doing what they're doing come licensure.
Sure. And I mean, excuse me, we had Opie Wan on the show today from On Point CBD, On Point Foraging. Like a guy like Opie Wan, right, who may wholesale low dose hemp products. Mm-hmm. Is he going to have issues with these beverages having to move through Johnson Brothers, for example?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Opie, because his products are made locally in Minnesota, won't have as much of a problem with. It's more the people that sell products that are made in other jurisdictions, not under the OCM's control.
I see.
That would no longer be able to import those without that wholesaler license. So your Burnix or whatever liquor wholesaler.
Yeah.
You have been buying products, sure, from Minnesota people, but also, let's be real, from a lot of national brands.
Yeah.
This rule would say they can continue buying from national brands, which, if this doesn't pass, would have to stop come adult use licensure.
Oh.
They'd have to just buy from Minnesota wholesalers that have the ability to import from other states.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really a, I think there's hundreds of people in the industry. There's hundreds of opinions on this bill.
Yeah.
That one in particular, I think especially on the beverage production and the alcohol side, they're looking at that and going, this is great. This is exactly what I want.
Okay.
You also have people that are the Minnesota producers that are looking at this and saying, you're going to have people from other states operating under other rules, just being able to ship things into Minnesota. Not in love with that part. But
And just to play a little bit of, ping and pong.
absolutely.
The bill would remove the requirement that beverages with no more than 10 milligrams of THC be labeled as 2 servings. And I'm understanding that the guise of this is that it'll fit in better with other states' requirements.
Exactly.
But then packaging-wise, would it really be identical outside of that one other thing?
And that's the part where, sure, the product itself is compliant, meaning that, the 10 milligrams inside of that beverage you could have in Minnesota. But you and I both know there's so many other rules to make a compliant product beyond just, is a milligrams the right amount?
State by state.
Exactly. So will it bring Minnesota closer to that national trend?
Oh.
Perhaps.
Okay.
But will it allow products to come into Minnesota under the guise of legal? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. What else did you find interesting in the omnibus?
Yeah. So on the medical side, if you're a patient, you're really looking for more protections, especially as adult use is further expanded out. This requires people that are on both the medical and the adult use side to prioritize selling to medical patients, which as of today is recommended. You have to have part of your grow just for med, but it's not required that if you have 2 people in your shop, you're choosing the med patient over the adult use.
In the case, for example, that some strains may sell out.
Exactly. Yeah. We're looking at that medical prioritization. And we're seeing the, it's like visitation rights. If you're a med patient in Illinois or New York or whatever, you come here, you could buy a med product in our med program because you're registered as a medical patient in California or wherever.
Or the ability to go onto tribal land.
Exactly.
As a medical cannabis patient.
Yep.
Or off tribal land to, a vireo or a green goods. Yeah.
We're seeing, I think, Minnesota lawmakers look at that bigger picture of the national landscape and say, how do we get Minnesota to better fit into this bubble? Is that good for the Minnesota industry? I don't know. But it definitely is bringing us closer to that national standard.
Sure.
Yep. And then there was another thing that I want to throw in that I think is really interesting that we talked about in the past. You're a local town. You've got your muni. You're selling hemp products there. You're probably thinking this is great. The town of St. Anthony, they have a monthly newsletter. Their local municipal shop every month talks about how THC sales are up. This has been incredible for us.
Huh. And that made the paper this week too, right?
It did.
Yeah.
And as it's written right now, if St. Anthony wants to go and get an adult use license, which they would be allowed to do, they'd have to stop selling at their liquor store. This allows them to have both that adult use and a municipal hemp-derived license, making them the only organization that could hold 2 licenses at the same time.
Interesting. And that's for every muni around.
Every single muni.
The munis are going to be the dope dealers.
That they will, for sure. Yeah, in fact, people should stick around to our conversation with Opie, because one of the things we were discussing was what is the future of hemp in Minnesota? And, Morgan, Minnesota might not be wanting a dispensary in town, but they probably have a liquor store that sells hemp. And will that continue to be the balance of you've got your dispos and liquor? Who knows?
Wow.
But could be fun. But there was one thing in particular that I thought was very interesting in terms of the testing side that's in this bill. So a lot of people have been concerned, will we have enough testing facilities? Will there be enough bandwidth to test all this product that's going to be grown and put on the shelf? They currently require people to be certified as an ISO lab. There's a specific type of certification. We won't get into technicalities.
Yeah.
But in essence, this change in the Can Omnibus Bill would allow people to operate as a testing facility while they're seeking that certification. So they've applied, they've got their license in, they're seeking to become certified. They'd be able to start testing cannabis products, which I think is probably important as we're looking at the amount of products that will need to be tested day one.
Yeah.
I want there to be a lot of labs, and
there's
this
only
is one way to do it.
I don't want to say the wrong number, but I think 6 or...
Yeah, there was a shocking amount that applied during that first round.
Okay.
That is pretty concerning. So hopefully this is helping to alleviate that bandwidth if it ends up passing.
At least the onboarding part of
Exactly.
Standing it up.
Yeah, it'll help during the first couple of years. It probably won't make a huge difference 5 years from now. But during this on-ramp, could be an important part.
Jeez.
I don't know.
We don't even have like a single like name brand testing facility in our state right now.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Like SC Labs is a name brand testing
For sure.
facility.
Yeah. Yep. There are tons of nationally recognized hemp testing labs or cannabis testing labs. We've got nothing yet.
Nothing but hemp.
Nothing. Well, so I'm curious to see where that bill ends up going. People can follow along with our buddy, Dr. Clement Dabney. He's been posting a lot about this on social media in the Star Trib. So yeah, that's all we got for that one right now. But as we continue to follow this through the legislative Sasha's making, we will keep you all updated. Did you guys hear that there's tariffs?
What?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on this very briefly. We're not a political podcast, so we don't need to get into the news that I'm sure everyone is already sick of hearing. But there was a really interesting article in Reuters that talked about how tariffs are probably going to lead to more expensive weed.
Items such as tins, vape, hardware, specialized glass.
Yep.
Things that are coming over from China, Asia,
Absolutely.
Over halfway around the world.
Yeah, we've got hundreds, if not thousands of brands in Minnesota reaching out to potential packaging sources saying, hey, I'd love to buy a bunch of vape pens. What is that going to cost? And they send over the quote and they go, cool, I'm going to build that into my budget. We'll plan for it. I'm sure a lot of them have gotten emails over the past week or so saying, unfortunately, that's going to be a bit higher and hope you're ready for that.
And it doesn't go back to them.
No.
So take it up with the orange guy in Washington.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so we don't talk about the cannabis stock market on here because it's insane. But we saw drops of upwards to 10% on one day from some of these companies because their margins are already so razor thin that having a 15-20% jump on your vape pens, that's going to be pretty tricky.
Buckle up, folks. It's home grow season.
Buckle up. And unfortunately, we talk a lot about how there are things that affect the legal market, but maybe not the legacy market. This is probably one of those things that will impact the legacy market because let's be real, the places that your hookup is buying their vape pen cartridges and that Vireo is buying their vape pen cartridges, not that much different from each other.
They were probably both at Lucky Leaf.
Yeah, probably were. And yeah, be ready for that. That's for sure. So never a better time to start growing at home than yesterday.
Yeah,
or, if not today.
Or 30 years ago.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we got our interview with our buddy Obi. And then, of course, we've got our high note. We'll be right back.